She said she was going out for a walk, needed air, whatever that meant. I stayed back with Jacob, playing cards in the kitchen, thinking she just needed space. It wasn't until 2 hours passed, and the sun started its slow dip below the pines, that I started to worry. By nightfall, the panic set in like a fever. Jacob stayed quiet, unusually quiet, but I chalked it up to shock. I called the local sheriff's office. Described her. Blonde. Mid-40s. Still pretty in that manicured, polished way suburban wives master. They sent a unit. The search began. Then, Jacob said, "Dad, can I show you something?" I'll never forget his face when he said it. Not scared. Not confused. Just resolved. Like a kid who'd seen something too heavy for his age and decided to grow up overnight. He held out his phone. "It's from today," he said. Right when she said she went missing. I didn't want to look. Every cell in my body screamed don't, but my hand reached for it anyway. There she was. Melissa. Dancing. Half-dressed. Laughing. Twisting her body like a siren in heat. And not for me. For Tyler. Jacob's best friend since 3rd grade. A kid I'd driven to soccer practice. A kid I let sleep under my roof more nights than I could count. A kid who was now sitting on the edge of the bed in that video, mouth open like he'd won the lottery. "Keep watching," Jacob said, voice like ice. And I did. Against every instinct, I kept watching. She kissed him, whispered something into his ear that made him smirk. Then she pulled him into the room, the camera angle shifting, the audio still running. There were sounds. I dropped the phone like it was on fire. I stared out the window. For a moment, everything went still. Then Jacob said, "I figured it out. This wasn't a disappearance. It was a setup. She wanted us out. Both of us." His voice never cracked. That's what chilled me. He wasn't broken. He was past that. I turned to him, unsure of what to even say. "I don't want revenge," he said. "I want freedom. I want peace. You and me, Dad. Let's disappear. Before she tries to flip it. Before she tells the world we're the villains in her little drama." He was right. She would spin it. She was probably already practicing her sob story in the mirror. She knew how to cry on cue. Knew just how to tilt her head, widen her eyes, and convince anyone that she was the victim. That we abandoned her. That we left without warning. So we did exactly that. We vanished. No goodbye note. No confrontation. No scorched earth finale. Just the silence she feared most, being left behind with her lies. The next day, 107 calls. Texts. Emails. Voicemails. All from her. "Where are you? Come back, please. This isn't funny. I messed up. I still love you." All those words that meant nothing. But the damage had already been done. I didn't need revenge. I just needed her to feel what I felt for years. Invisible. We drove through the night. Didn't pack much. A couple duffel bags, cash I kept stashed behind the garage wall for emergencies, and Jacob's old beat-up laptop. I left my wedding ring on the bathroom sink, right next to her untouched face cream, the same one she begged me to order from France. Let her stare at it every morning and wonder if the emptiness beside it is what regret feels like. We headed south, staying off highways. Stuck to gas stations and off-brand motels. The kind of places where no one asks questions, and the wallpaper's always peeling at the edges. Just the way I needed it. Jacob didn't talk much. Neither did I. There was nothing left to say. Sometimes silence is the only language two broken men understand. But when we crossed the state line and stopped for cheap pancakes at a place called Rosie's, he finally asked, "What now?" And truth be told, I didn't know. I'd spent years building a life around a woman who couldn't care less. I worked double shifts. Took out a second mortgage to fund her business idea that never made a dime. Sat through her endless complaints about how trapped she felt while I was out there bleeding for the very cage she resented. Funny how the bars always feel tighter when you're the one who locked the door from the inside. Back then, I chalked her coldness up to stress. A phase. I told myself everyone hits rough patches. That marriage was a marathon, not a sprint. But turns out it's hard to run a marathon with a knife in your back. The signs were all there. Melissa's gym sessions that never left her sweaty. The perfume that lingered a little too long after book club. The way she stopped using my name when she spoke to me as if babe was some kind of shield to keep things impersonal. To keep her conscience clean. And Tyler? That little punk? He'd been in our home more than her own mother. Ate dinner at our table. Called me Mr. Green with that practiced respect that masked whatever filth he was already scheming. He used to call Jacob his brother. But there he was, in a video my son filmed, running his hands over my wife like he'd earned something, like he deserved it. That's when the shift happened. I stopped seeing them as people, stopped feeling the pain. My heart didn't break. It calcified. You think we could start over? Jacob asked between bites of greasy hash browns. I looked at him, this kid who had more strength in one decision than I'd managed in years. I don't think, I said. I know we can. He nodded, like he was already planning, already building something new from the ashes. It was then I realized, she didn't just lose her husband. She lost her son, too. And that's when I felt it. Peace. Not the kind you buy with yoga mats and overpriced retreats, but the real kind, the kind that comes from knowing you have absolutely nothing left to lose and finally, the freedom to live. That afternoon, I logged into a backup email I hadn't touched in years. The one Melissa didn't know about. I started contacting a few old buddies, men I'd worked with back in my contracting days. Guys who dropped off the grid and stayed there. One of them, a guy named Travis, responded in minutes, still got a cabin down in West Hollow. No cell, no wires. You and the boy come on down. I turned to Jacob. You up for one last drive? He smiled for the first time in 2 days. Let's vanish for real. So we did. That night, I shut off my phone for good. Left it on the windowsill of a rest stop bathroom off I-65. Let Melissa chase the ghost of the man she never cared to understand. Let her play the victim, the worried wife, crying crocodile tears into voicemail inboxes and Facebook posts. Because here's the thing about people like her. They don't cry because they miss you. They cry because they lost control. They cry because the narrative slipped through their fingers. She never expected me to disappear. And she sure as hell never expected Jacob to go with me. But we were gone. And the story was just getting started. West Hollow wasn't on most maps. That's exactly why I chose it. Travis met us with 2 things, a firm handshake and a stronger silence. No questions. Just keys to the cabin and a power line's been down for a year, generators full, woods are stocked, watch for bobcats. Jacob laughed. First real laugh I'd heard since the video. I didn't realize how badly I'd missed the sound until it echoed through those crooked pine trees. The cabin wasn't much, just 4 walls, a wood stove, and the kind of creaky floorboards that warn you when a secret's about to fall out of your mouth. But it was ours, at least for now. First night there, I slept like the dead. No phone buzzing at 3 a.m. No footsteps outside the room from a wife I didn't trust. No sick feeling wondering why the woman lying next to me suddenly stopped breathing me in. Just me, my boy, and the wind howling like it had something to confess. Next morning, I checked my burner phone. I hadn't given the number to anyone, but curiosity's a stubborn itch. I turned it on, just to see. 107 missed calls. All from Melissa. Some voicemails were sobbing. Some were screaming. One sounded like she'd been drinking, her voice low and slurred. I made a mistake. Come home, please. But then the shift came. 2 days later, I got a text. You're a monster. You kidnapped him. Right there, in black and white. That was the play. That was the next act in her twisted little drama. Turn the guilt into ammunition. Frame me as the villain in a story she wrote from bed, wrapped in bedsheets that weren't mine. I didn't respond. Not yet. But I started keeping a log. Times. Messages. Screenshots. Jacob even offered to write his own statement, unprompted. This isn't just about her, he said. This is about what she's willing to do to get what she wants. He was right. We weren't hiding anymore. We were collecting. Because eventually, the house of lies she built was going to come crashing down. And when it did, I wanted to make sure she was buried beneath every nail and plank of it. Back in town, she must have been unraveling. See, narcissists don't fear consequences. They fear exposure. And silence? Silence is a mirror they can't stand to look into. No response from me meant she had to turn up the volume. Mutual friends started reaching out. One called and said, she's telling people you snapped. That you went off the rails. That you took Jacob without consent. Consent? I laughed. He's 17. Not a toddler. Not some suitcase she packed full of guilt and manipulation. He paused. I didn't say I believed her. I just thought you should know. That night, Jacob said, she always needed an audience. Without one, she doesn't know who she is. And there it was, the final nail in the coffin. The woman I married never loved me. She just loved the way I made her look. The stable husband. The hard-working provider. The good dad. But once the spotlight shifted off her and onto the truth, she couldn't handle the dark. A week passed. Then came the knock. Jacob was chopping wood when he froze, axe in hand. I stepped out onto the porch, half expecting it to be Travis or maybe some lost hiker. Nope. It was Tyler's dad. Didn't expect that, did you? Me neither. He looked tired, like a man who'd just come back from burying his pride 6 feet deep. His hands were in his jacket pockets, eyes red-rimmed. I didn't know, he said. Didn't know what? That my son was involved. That word, involved, like it was some accidental pothole his kid had tripped into. Like he hadn't chosen to sleep with a married woman. With my wife. I didn't say anything. Just let the silence chew the air raw. I wanted you to hear it from me. He's confessed. Said it wasn't the first time. Said Melissa told him you were distant. Cold. Said you didn't care anymore. That made me laugh. Because you know what hurts worse than betrayal? Justification. Like I should be understanding. Like I should have apologized for not making my wife feel desired enough to avoid pouncing on the nearest teenage ego trip. She's gonna burn every bridge she is trying to get ahead of this, I said. You know that, right? He nodded. I came to say I'm sorry. And to tell you. Tyler's facing charges. My eyebrows lifted. For what? He recorded her. Without consent. That video? It's illegal in this state. He bragged about it to a friend. That friend talked. For the first time in a while, I didn't feel rage. I felt resolution. Let them eat each other alive. I didn't need revenge anymore. I just needed distance. But if Karma happened to wear steel-toed boots and walk through their front door, I wouldn't complain. By the end of that night, Jacob and I lit a fire. He pulled out his notebook, started sketching something. What's that? I asked. A plan, he said. For what? He looked up at me, the flames flickering in his eyes. For our next chapter. The first article popped up online 4 days after Tyler's dad came to the cabin. Local teacher accused of inappropriate relationship with former student's parent. They didn't name her yet, but they didn't need to. The breadcrumbs were all there. Allegations surfaced after a private video, obtained without consent, began circulating among peers. Sources close to the family claim the incident may have contributed to the sudden disappearance of the woman's husband and teenage son. That last line? That was her doing. She wanted the world to believe I snapped. That I dragged our son into the woods like some unstable, emotionally wounded Neanderthal. But the moment that video leaked, her performance, her body, her betrayal, it flipped the script. Suddenly, I wasn't the story. She was. The messages started pouring in again, this time from people who used to be her audience. Hey man, I'm sorry. Didn't know what she was doing. You okay? Jacob okay? Is it true what's going around? That video, Jesus. I didn't answer any of them. Not yet. Let them stew in the same confusion I drowned in for the last 3 years. Jacob asked, do you think she'll try to come here? No, I said. Not until she has nowhere else to turn. People like Melissa, they don't come clean. They come crashing down. But first, they burn every last bridge they can't walk across anymore. And I knew it was coming. I spent the next few days putting things in place. See, I'd built a good life before her. I just forgot how much of it was mine. She didn't know about the property I owned under my brother's name. Didn't know I'd never taken her off the credit union account I used in my 20s. Didn't know about the storage unit in Clarksville that held all the old tools, documents, backup drives. She thought I was just some blue-collar loyalist with too much time at work and not enough ambition. She mistook my consistency for simplicity, a mistake she'd lived to regret. Meanwhile, she was drowning. Melissa tried everything. First, it was the Concerned Mother Act. Jacob, if you see this, please call me. I'm so sorry. I just want my baby home. Then she switched tactics. Messages to my sister, my coworkers, even to Jacob's school counselor. She's unstable, my sister texted. Posting cryptic quotes. Talking about how she made a mistake but deserves grace. Grace. That word. Funny how cheaters and liars always reach for grace after they've poured gasoline on the life you built and flicked the match. I didn't delete the messages. I archived them. Filed them neatly beside her receipts of guilt. Her timelines. Her contradictions. Because the truth doesn't yell. It waits. Jacob didn't ask to see her again. Not once. He spent his mornings sketching designs, playing guitar on the porch, or reading old philosophy books Travis left behind. The kid who once spent his weekends glued to a screen was now chopping wood and quoting Marcus Aurelius like some monk in exile. She used to say I was dramatic, he said one night. I looked up. You. Yeah. Said I felt things too much. That I was too sensitive. But I think she just didn't want to deal with someone who could actually feel something real. He was right. Melissa couldn't handle depth. That's why she fell for Tyler, Some hormone-driven kid too young to see through her validation vacuum. She wasn't in love. She was addicted to attention. The moment Jacob started noticing, she pulled away. He stopped being her accessory, so she left him behind too. But now, he was building a new compass, one that pointed away from her. By the end of the second week, her mask cracked wide open. A voicemail, long and frantic. "You don't understand. He said he'd tell the school board if I didn't back him up. I didn't have a choice. I had to act like I wanted it. You left me alone for years, and then what? I make one mistake, and you vanish? Jacob's my son too. Don't do this, please. Come back. We can fix this. I swear." I listened to it once, then again, then I saved it. Titled it Final Plea.mp3 because that's what it was. The sound of a woman whose game was up, who realized the audience had left the theater, that no one was clapping anymore. So I made one move. Just one. I mailed a simple envelope to her attorney. No note. No threats. Just a USB drive with a copy of the video, screenshots of the text between her and Tyler, a notarized statement from Jacob, her voicemail, final plea. No return address. Let them figure out what to do with it. Let the court see the truth for themselves. Because revenge isn't fire and fury. It's quiet, measured, surgical. And when it cuts deep. The silence didn't last. Not with someone like Melissa. After I sent that envelope, things escalated fast. Jacob and I were back at the cabin, splitting wood under a gray sky, when Travis pulled up in his old rusted truck and tossed a folded newspaper onto the porch. "You're in it," he said simply, like it was just another storm front rolling in. I opened it slowly, like peeling back gauze from a wound you know isn't done bleeding. Front page, bottom corner. Scandal deepens as school board reviews video evidence. They didn't name Melissa outright, but anyone in our town with half a memory could connect the dots. The article mentioned Tyler, his father stepping down from the school board, and a faculty spouse potentially connected to the incident. Faculty spouse. That was me. My name wasn't in ink, but my shadow was smeared across the page. Jacob read over my shoulder. "Guess the stage lights are getting hot now." I didn't smile. Not because I wasn't satisfied. It was something more dangerous than satisfaction. It was closure. Because when someone spends years making you feel small, forgettable, replaceable, and then suddenly they're the one being erased from the picture, you don't laugh. You just exhale. A week later, her lawyer finally responded. A letter. Certified mail. Neat handwriting. Expensive paper. No doubt her way of pretending she still had control over the narrative. "Mr. Green, my client is requesting an opportunity to reconcile and negotiate a mutual custody arrangement for Jacob. In light of recent events and potential reputational damage to all parties, she believes it is in everyone's best interest to resolve this matter privately." Privately. She wanted a backroom deal. No court. No judge. No truth. I sat on the porch that night, that letter in one hand, a bourbon in the other. Jacob was inside, plucking chords on his guitar like they were old scars he'd finally learned to live with. He stepped out after a while, took one look at the letter, and said, "We're not going back, are we?" "No," I said. "We're going forward." Melissa tried one last play, the public apology. Oh, it was something. She stood in front of our old church, hair pulled back, no makeup, wearing that same forgiving wife pastel sweater she wore every time she wanted to look humble. The video hit social media before the evening service ended. I take full responsibility for my actions. I made mistakes, deep, painful ones, but I ask for your forgiveness, especially from my son and my husband. I never meant to hurt anyone. The comments were a dumpster fire. Some people lapped it up like holy water. Others? They knew better. One comment stood out. "Funny how you only found Jesus after you lost your audience." Even the church pews couldn't save her now. That night, Jacob pulled out his laptop. "Time to finish something," he said. He opened the college application portal. I raised a brow. "Thought you weren't sure." "I wasn't," he replied. "But I want something new. Not just for me, for us. I'm not running away from the past anymore. I'm walking straight through it." He paused. "And I'm not taking her name with me." He legally changed it. Dropped it like deadweight. He chose mine. That moment? That was the real revenge. But watching the very thing Melissa tried to use as leverage, our son, choose to carry my name into his future,